Hi everyone, this is Ashley with Marshflower Studio. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how I make this little baby hen. So the idea for this started from someone else's pattern, and that is this adorable guy right here. So this is not my pattern. You can get this pattern on Etsy. It's where I got it from. I just think they're so funny and adorable. I love them. And I made a larger one with this pattern because I just think they're so fun, right? But I wanted some little babies to go with it, so I kind of came up with the pattern for the smaller version on my own. So if you want the larger version, you can find this one on Etsy. Go get it. You know, getting patterns on there is not expensive. And there's some really cool things, like this little stupid hen. So now we're gonna move on to making the little baby version, because oh my gosh, you can't tell me this is not just the cutest, silliest little thing ever. Okay. All right, so the first step we're going to do is making the body. It's a pretty simple looking little body, and I do these in two colors, so it's a little harder to tell with a tan one, but there is a little bit darker on the bottom, and then I've used the same lighter, let's see, what color is this? It's the Karen 1 pound. They call it off-white. It's not really off-white to me. It's more, you know, light tan and then regular tan. The other one, I have this nice pretty blue. It's kind of a darker country blue. I don't know the name of this color because it was one of the random balls of extra that I have laying around. The little feet and his little top pieces up here, his comb, are also from a random skein that I've had kind of forever tucked away. So just choose a color that you like, that you think would work. I like this kind of corally color, but you can do orange, yellow, reds, whatever. And then we have this kind of gold for the beak. And the wings, I typically do in the same color as the top half, but you can totally mix it up and do them the same color as the bottom half. You can do them completely different if you want just a super funky chicken. But we'll get started. And I'm going to start with my darker tan color here, because I really like how simple that color is together. Get this one out of the way from over there. All right, so for the body, we start with 6 single crochets in our magic circle. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. In our next round, we're going to have 6 increases, so a total of 12. So there's 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. Okay. For our next row, we're going to have a single crochet and an increase for a row count of 18. I'm going to do my increase first. So 1 and 2 and then 3, 4 and 5, and then 6, 7 and 8, and then 9, 10 and 11, and then 12, 13 and 14, and then 15, 16 and 17, and then 18. All right, so we're going to do one more increase row. So we'll have an increase and then 2 single crochets, and we'll have 24 stitches at the end of this row. So there's 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Okay, now we're going to do 24 single crochets in the back loop only. And if you've seen some of my other videos where I do kind of a transition into a back loop, I always do a slip stitch first, and I don't really count that as part of my row. So I'm going to go back loop only, 24 single crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Okay, and if you wonder why, you'll see that in certain patterns. For this one, kind of specifically, it creates kind of an edge to your piece, so it sits flat on the table a little bit easier. And if you want them just to be completely roll around, then you don't have to do that. But it does help them sit a little bit better when you have that kind of edge where you're changing direction in your pattern. All right, so we're going to do another row of 24 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. And I'll point out now that I have a little bit more space here, you can see where when I did that slip stitch, it kind of brings that row a little bit closer together here, so you don't have such a wide gap in between that line where you started those back loops. Okay, just a little bit neater of a finish. All right, for our next row, we're going to do 6 single crochets and a decrease, and we will repeat that 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a decrease. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a decrease. Okay. In our next row, we're going to have 5 single crochets and a decrease. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's our last decrease. All right, for this next row, we're going to change colors. If you want to have a 2 different color chicken, if you want it to be all the entirely same color, then just don't change colors right now. Okay. So again, everybody does their color change differently. This is just how I do it. So I'm going to go under and make my little slip stitch here to kind of bring that last stitch a little closer down. And then I'm going to go under the next stitch and pull a slip stitch through with my new color. So we'll cut my starting color. I'll tie a little knot here just so that feels a little bit more secure. And we're going to just do single crochets all the way around. So I'm actually going to do a slip stitch right there beside that one so that they are kind of evenly lined up back here. And then we'll go back to regular single crochets. But like I said, if you don't like that method, if you have another method for changing colors that you like better, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, or it doesn't make any difference with this particular pattern. All right, so we're all the way back around. In our next row, we're going to have 4 decreases, I'm sorry, getting ahead of myself. 4 single crochets and a decrease. And we'll do that 3 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, and decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, and decrease. All right. So from here, we're just decreasing all the way down to the top, right? So we did 4 in that row. For this row, we're going to do 3 single crochets and then our decrease. One, 2, 3. 2, and 3. All right, for our next row, we have 2 single crochets and a decrease. So there's 1, 2, and decrease. 1, 2, and a decrease. And then 1, 2, and a decrease. All right, so at this point, I'm going to grab some safety eyes. If you would rather embroider your eyes or, you know, sew buttons on after, however you want to do your eyes. I like doing the safety eyes when I can. So our eyes are going to go between rows 2 and 3 of this top half. Okay, and one of the things that I do, some people will put this color change to the back, and we'll have eyes here. I like to kind of put it on the side because then I will use it, I'll use my wing to cover up where that is. So then you still have this nice clean edge across the back. Anytime I can get away with hiding that color change somewhere, I will totally do it. So I'm going to put my color change area on the side and then kind of select where my eyes are going to go based on that. So the eyes are going to be between the second and third row of this upper half, and they're going to be about 3 stitches apart. Okay, and at this point you should still be able to turn at least some of your chicken inside out. If you're putting the safety eyes on, it makes it a little bit easier to kind of get them out. Trying to stick enough fingers down in there to get it. Ugh, there we go. Get those backs on can be a little challenging sometimes. All right. And if you're doing the safety eyes, one thing that's a little bit nice about them, even though that it's frustrating, is that the way that they're made, and because they're so close together, they kind of create their own little indentation and pucker there in the middle. So I just think that's a little nice extra, right? All right, so we had our row where we did 2 singles and a decrease. So now we're gonna have some stuffing before this gets any more difficult to try to get stuffing in there. And you can always come back later with like a yarn needle and kind of push those eyes and push the backs up so that they sit a little more flat. Sometimes when you're putting stuffing in like this, it can kind of push them in different directions. But you can use your yarn needle to fix that. All right, so I'm going to do a single crochet and a decrease, again 3 times. Single and decrease, and then single and decrease. All right, so from here I'm going to do a couple decreases just to kind of bring the top of this in, because I don't want it to be super like curved in. So I'm gonna do a little slip stitch here to finish this off. I'm not gonna sew this part together. Ugh. I'm just gonna do my slip stitch, and then I keep that starter tail out where I can get to it for a lot of my projects. I'm gonna go under this whole stitch where I just finished my slip stitch and kind of pull that string to the inside. And I'm gonna tie these two in a little square knot. And then we'll feed them through these little tails right down through the middle. And we want to keep those last stitches where we can get to them. Okay. So for that top part, I'm going to grab my color for that. I'm going to make a little slip knot. And I'm just going to go right under one of those stitches in that very top part. I'm going to pull up, do a little slip stitch, and then I'm going to chain 6, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to go to the next stitch over and slip stitch back into that head. And then we'll chain 6 again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then again, right into that next stitch over. Sometimes I make my stitches a little too tight, and then it's hard to get where I need to go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So we're just doing 3 of these. So again, we'll go under that next stitch and then pull through a little slip stitch, and then we can cut this off, and we'll make our little square knot here and tuck those tails in, and the top of his little comb will be ready. Okay, it's like some goofy hair going on up there. All right, so the wings are super simple. We're going to make a magic circle. We're going to have 5 half double crochets in our magic circle. So 1, and I didn't do any extra chains here because it helps make that wing a little curved on the sides. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I will do a slip stitch here at the end before I cut my yarn. I'll pull that through and we'll tighten up this wing, and then we'll sew it right there on the side, right at the color change. Okay, I'll pop a little pin in here for now. My large hairpins are pretty awesome for keeping stuff in place. Okay, oh, his eyes are looking a little wonky right now. All right, so 2 wings, And then for the feet, or the legs and feet, I guess, those are also super duper simple. We're gonna make our little slip knot. We're gonna have a chain 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we're gonna slip stitch the second and third chains from the hook. So we'll slip stitch there and there. And that second one is where we're going to slip stitch all of the toes back to. Okay, so we're going to do another chain 2. We're going to slip stitch 1, the second one from the hook, and then we're going to go into that same hole, that same chain where we did our other toe with a little slip stitch. Okay, and then we will chain 2, second chain from the hook, we do a slip stitch, and then that same chain where we've attached our other toes, we're going to go right back in there and do a slip stitch. All right, that gives us our 3 chicken toes. And then we will just slip stitch our way back up the leg. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'll trim that off. You just need a little bit to sew it to the body. And I usually sew them just above this line of front loops that we have. So I'll sew it right there just on top of those, like so. I can pin this guy in place too. Okay. And the last thing we have to make is the beak. So I use this nice kind of gold color. Oh, it's called sun gold. All right, beak also very fast, very simple. We'll make our magic circle. We're gonna do 4 single crochets in our magic circle. And then for the second row, we're going to do an increase and then 3 single crochets. So increase and then 1, 2, and 3. And then we'll do our little slip stitch in the next to fasten off. We'll cut enough yarn to sew it to his face. And that's our little beak. Okay, super easy, super simple, and we have a cute little baby stupid hen. I love them. They're so adorable. Most of the yarns that I used for this were worsted weight yarns with a 4mm hook. I'm not sure what this kind of corally colored one is. If I had to guess, it's probably a number 3 instead of a number 4, because it is a little thinner. But it is also kind of that burlappy texture yarn, so sometimes the texture can have a pretty big difference in how it feels and how it works. But I hope you guys like this little chicken. If you think he's cute, give him a thumbs up, subscribe so you can see other future adorableness getting made, and make sure you check out previously posted videos. There's lots of other cute things to make that are fairly simple, pretty quick, and mostly beginner friendly. I say mostly, because there are some folks that have had some trouble with a few of the ways that I do some things, and I get it. If it's not the way you've always done it, it can seem a little weird and a little hard to understand. But as long as you're doing like increases and decreases, it doesn't matter which method you choose, okay? So subscribe. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.